You're listening to Super Power Mommas on the Super Power Up podcast, the show that embraces the art of soulful parenting.
Welcome, everyone. I am so excited that you are here. You are listening to Super Power Mommas, a show that provides tools and strategies to navigate parenting in a peaceful and intuitively divinely inspired way. This show is providing these tools in order to help you to find harmony in your home while modeling this for your children. And I'm Laura Greco, and I am so excited to be here with you today discussing parenting from the concept of consciousness. I am here with both a guest and my dear friend and mentor, Jennifer Urezzio. And she is one who has spent many years in the field of conscious connection. Jennifer is the founder of Soul Language. She is a master intuitive, author of 2 books, and she teaches and speaks. She specializes in helping people connect to themselves and to each other in a divine way. This paradigm of soul language provides guidance and understanding our true nature and the tools for accessing deep levels of awareness. This new insight into how the soul expresses itself is being embraced by top healers, lifestyle coaches, and CEOs all over the world, and as a method of helping people to recognize their purpose and live from a place of power and truth. Her modalities of strength include soul language, essential oils, kinesiology, and she is also my mentor, teacher, and friend. And I'm so excited to have her here with us today. So welcome, Jennifer.
Hello, Miss Greco. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. We get to do this fun show together, and I'm so excited to have this audience hear what your superpowers are. So would you like to let us know what they are?
Yeah, I think my main superpower is really about helping myself and others really see the conscious path. Mm-hmm. I'm always going to look at things about how do we expand it? What's the decision of wholeness and completeness here? And I think, sometimes that's a superpower for goodness, and sometimes it's a superpower that backfires on myself because, that's not always as easy as we like it to be. But that's my superpower. I mean, besides being highly intuitive and blah, 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 but, everyone can be intuitive. I think my real gift is to go, okay, here's the path of consciousness. Where do you want to go from now? And I have a really good way with words. I would like my superpower to be to manipulate time, but I'm still working on that one.
Manipulate time. What do you, when you say that, what do you think that will do? Like, how?
Oh my God, that would be so fun to pop to the 20s or pop to the future, or slow down time so I could do all the laundry and then go do something fun. It's always been my little fantasy, especially growing up, to manipulate time. So I think it would be cool.
Yeah, sounds fun. Sounds really fun. Well, today our topic, of course, is parenting from the concept of consciousness. And as you mentioned here, your path is really to assist people to come into their conscious awareness. We're all connected, as you so often say. However, we're not always conscious of it. And it creates sometimes disconnect in our families. Would you like to expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think what really, and I'm writing a kind of a talk about this, I think what soul language does and what connection does and what you do for families are 3 things. One, we remind people that even though they think that they're unloved, they are loved. We remind people that although they think that they're alone, that they're not. And we remind people that there is, profound resources. I think what happens with disconnection is that conflict, that separation creates this disharmony and separation in us. Now, there are family experiences that immediately cause separation, feelings of not enough in a person, disconnect, and those are usually very traumatic experiences. And then there are the kind of the other things that happen, which are still horrible to someone that's experiencing them, but they're at different levels of disconnection. You know, that kind of the thought that just popped in my head was, you know, not getting the Christmas present that you wanted could be taken in as a belief that you never get what you want, you never get what you ask for, you know, you're not loved enough to get what you need, right?
Yeah.
So when all of that is kind of created within our system, then we make decisions based on that. And I think what connection and bringing not just the parent into connection, but working with the parent to help the child be connected and to know how to consciously connect, that allows for a lot less patterns that are unsustainable to be generated within our system. Just like you would let a baby they used to let babies self-soothe, right?
Yeah.
When they understand, when a parent knows that their soul language, when they understand how to connect to their soul and then help their child to foster that in them, that allows for a whole bunch of possibilities of really experiencing profound love rather than a lot of conflicts and limited patterns that are created because we grow up in a family.
Yeah, we sure do. And all that means, right? I love that you bring this out because when we think about the stories, you know, that are created in our minds about an incident that could be totally taken by someone else in a very different way, you know, same circumstance, different viewpoint, it really helps us to understand that how we conduct ourselves in the world really is coming from something that's long been forgotten in many ways. And yet that, you know, where it originates, and yet going forward, there it is, triggering us, right? And creating, really manifesting ideas or, manifesting evidence in our life that, yes, this is true. So,
yeah, it's the chicken and the egg, right?
Yeah, right.
You know, and manifestation, all of it is the chicken and the egg, right? What comes first, the thought or the thing, or do they happen at the same time? And, you know, I mean, we could spend hours talking about manifestation and creating what you want. When it comes to that fundamental belief system, you know, I think two things happen. I think, you know, one, every child, every soul, every embodied soul on this planet is born with kind of a default theme of how they're going to hear their soul. Meaning it's a default limiting belief that is a trigger for them to turn towards expansion and hear their soul more. Right? And that's like the big theme of challenge. And a lot of our experiences, because we have that fundamental belief, which can be lessened and lessened and lessened, it creates these experiences that reflect that back. And then there are the beliefs that are created based on experiences and reinforce beliefs as well. So, you know, listen, it's a hard job to be a parent. I'm not a parent. I have a cat who at the moment I can't get to eat any wet food, but she keeps crying for wet food. Right? And I'm like, I don't know how it's a hero's journey to be a parent.
Yeah.
And what I think about helping people connect to their soul in general, and especially with parents, it allows them a better starting place than if they didn't. And so, right?
Absolutely.
And so then they can make better decisions there. They're also aware of the beliefs that they're handing over to their children.
Exactly. We're going to hold that thought and come right back. We have to take a quick break, but you've been listening to Jennifer Urezzio with myself on Super Power Mommas, and we are discussing the parenting from the concept of consciousness.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The SuperPower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the SuperPower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back with Jennifer Urezzio, and we are discussing on SuperPower Mommas the parenting from the concept of consciousness. And we were in the middle of a really key point here that Jennifer was discussing with us concerning the difference, the two different pieces, if you will, of becoming a human here on the earth. Some of which we are born with, and some of which we create as we go along, and how we view the world and what comes to us and what we need to work on. And Jennifer was bringing out this key point that I really appreciate, and that is that parenting is a hero's journey. Love that, Jennifer.
You could really thank partially Joseph Campbell for that.
Of course we can. But it is so true. And it is, well, in my view, parenting is one of the greatest jobs that are being done here on the earth. And kudos to parents for taking on that challenge.
Yeah, and you know what, and of course I'm not a parent, but I don't know if a lot of consciousness is made prior to the point of becoming a parent.
I think it comes with becoming a parent.
Right.
Our children are our mirrors. Oh my goodness.
Exactly. And, I mean, there's a pattern and there's a process of human nature that, you have your childhood, you go through your teens, you become an adult, you find a mate, you get married, you have kids, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of, we're hardwired like that to more populate the earth, and and I think that just like marriage, when they have you sit down and you want to talk about marriage before the pre-kina sessions or whatever, I think that it's really important that parents at every step of the way do that. Okay, so kind of let's create a vision for how we want to raise our kids. What do we want to offer them? When will I'm going to know that it's reflecting back at me? I hear so many. I heard soul language practitioner yesterday, and I was talking about, she's got 2 small kids, and she's like, he fights me all the way, everything. And I'm like, why don't you ask him for his buy-in instead of telling him, and he won't fight you anymore? And she's like, oh my God, that's right. Every time I talk to him, it's not a problem.
Exactly.
Right. And I think, I think that's so important. And I think, what you do so brilliantly is help parents have that conversation with themselves, and then energetically and in conversation with their children, create that environment where they're not just raising, happy, healthy kids. They're raising conscious people.
Yes, going that deeper level of not just maybe being good citizens, but being great conscious people who are aware of themselves as much as aware of the world around them. can create such a different viewpoint. And I think that this also opens soul language in general and the understanding of the map of our soul and how we live our life on a cellular level, where we're coming from, can create such an awareness of curiosity. Being curious about things rather than judgmental, being curious rather than jumping to being angry, you know what I mean? Like taking that new step and saying, wait a minute, I could actually see what else is happening here rather than Johnny isn't listening to me, or Johnny's jumping all over the place. And
Johnny, we always pick on that name, John.
I know, and I love that name actually.
But it's true. It's like when you understand your soul languages and you understand your family soul languages and you understand your best friend's soul language, when they're being unconscious, you're like, oh, that's just them being unconscious. It doesn't become so personal. And I think especially for parents, it doesn't become, oh my God, I'm a bad mother. Oh my God, why doesn't he listen to me? Oh my God, why don't I get my kid? Which we hear all the time from mothers, right?
Yes.
It becomes, oh, he's just being a little negotiator. Okay, we can work with this. And then you start to understand how to co-create with that energy. And, when I first started soul language, one of my clients from way back when, we did her entire family's soul languages. And she was and this happens a lot with mentor mothers, which is an axiom of Quest, a mission language. She was a mentor. Her 2 boy children were negotiators, which is another axiom of Quest. And her husband was a negotiator as well. And top line, of course, mentors want to mentor, right? And negotiators want to negotiate everything. And every time she would have a conversation with any of the boys, they would run to their father to negotiate, and the father would have to come back and have a conversation with the mother. And she's like, I don't understand why they don't communicate with me. And she felt awful. And I was like, well, instead of trying to mentor them because they don't want to be mentored, they're negotiators. They think they know it all. Let them, I said, mentor the negotiations.
Yes.
And that started happening. And then what happened for a period of time, the father got really aggravated because they were getting really good at negotiating. And he wasn't expanding at the same time. And so that was a whole nother thing we got to heal, right? But, it's really, then she's like, oh, I don't have to take this personally. This is not really about me. Right. It's just about fundamentally how they do their energy on this planet at this time. So I think it's really profound when you have that information. It is like getting a blueprint for someone and going, here you go. And it gets to be a jumping off and a springboard without being judgmental, without, calling your partner out or calling your kid out. But it allows you to play from a place of consciousness and purpose rather than because I said so, I'm your mother.
Exactly.
Which I've done with my nephews. Because I said so, I am your aunt.
Okay.
And I went, oh my God, did I just do that? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a lot of patterning, right? That comes from when you're growing up. So it's going to happen.
Totally. And I was like, oh, I could have done that better. And, and I remember when there was a situation and I went, okay, I realized, I was like, oh, all right, you guys have never done this. And they both looked at me and they went, no. I was like, okay, so here's the rules of this, just so you know. Because I grew up one way, they've had different experiences. And I'm like, okay, so we all eat as a family. And we don't eat until everyone sits down. And they're like, looks at me like, I was like, those are the rules. And they're like, oh, okay, we can, as long as they know the rule. Right. But I can't get mad at them for something that they're not aware of yet.
Exactly. And I think that goes for the parents as much as for the children, right? The parents first becoming more aware allows them the opportunity to have the energy to, they're not, it's kind of like a computer with a program, 50 programs running, right? They're so worn out from all the stories in their head that they get exhausted by the time they're working with their children on something. So how about, when we clear up some of our own stuff, right?
Yeah.
It gives us an opportunity. And not even that we do it perfectly, because we're going to do things, or say things that come from patterning of growing up. And that's really okay, because we get to have a discussion about that too. Like, it's all part of the process.
Yeah. And it also, talks about how you parent your kids around your parents as well.
Yeah.
And we can have a whole conversation about that.
Well, we'll do that someday.
Right?
That's a whole nother one. Yes.
It's a whole nother thing. But, it also allows you to see, I got that not because I thought it was a great idea, but because of this pattern, or I'm making this choice, not because it resonates with me, but because it's a pattern that a role I'm playing, because I'm in the role of daughter now rather than parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, a similar thing did come up. I have a grandbaby, and
very beautiful grandbaby.
Yes, I do. Bright eyes. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I brought. We all went to and got together last winter, and my daughter is very attentive to her child, and she's conscious of the idea of if she's crying or something, to be attentive to that and so forth. Well, my mom is old school. And she just flat out told my daughter, and I didn't hear this, but I heard about it later, you're spoiling your kid. You've got to learn to let her be. And I was like, oh my gosh, my mother told me this in the car. I said, Mom, wow.
That explains a lot, Mom. Thanks.
So we had our discussion, but later my daughter came to me like 3 days later, and she sent me a text. Grandma says I'm spoiling my baby.
It took her 3 days, though.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It took her 3 days.
Yeah.
And I could only imagine how tortured she was during that.
My gosh. I didn't even bother with the text. I got her on the phone, and we had a nice discussion about the process. The process is the child is born. That's a huge split, right there, that the child is now outside the womb, not inside the womb, And so there's steps, and gradually as a child begins to learn to trust her environment, she begins to see she's safe, and then you gradually, give her more room for that growth. But it doesn't happen automatically right away first thing.
It's not like she's 30.
Exactly. And my daughter totally was great after that discussion, but she was like, Grandma said. Yeah. But that just shows, the patterning where we come from. It illustrates also what our young moms are going through as they're beginning to, to carve their own path.
And every stage of their child's development brings up new stuff.
Always, constantly. I remember being a parent myself. My goodness. Always. Jennifer, I marked this. I wanted to cover this because one of the things that I find with moms is for some moms, they are working a job, and there's all that goes with it. But for some, and making their mark in the world, and then there's other moms who are more concerned about being that perfect mother and being in the home, and all of this. And so there's all these stories around that. And I wondered, as a person who works with people in consciousness, could you expand on the idea of autonomy for a mom? In that, what I'm trying to highlight here is that her being totally immersed as a parent, how is she going?
You can't have a song with only low or high notes. You need a song with the entire scale.
Exactly.
And I think that's what that, with anything, whether you're a mom or,
Any person, yeah.
All work makes blah, 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 a dull boy, whatever that saying is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think being totally immersed 100% of your being in something with nothing for yourself. And I think that's what's really important here. It's not, do you want to create a job or do you want to do this? It's actually carving out that place for individuals where it's for them.
Yeah.
And I think that especially moms, when they're so busy serving, right, that they, and I hear this a lot, that they feel like there's nothing left for them. Well, what's for me, right? And especially if you're a strong woman and you have a job and blah, 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 that is really important about carving out time for you. Yeah. Because if not, you're going to probably wind up on the couch eating cheese one day, crying or yelling at your kids when you don't really mean to, or, having adrenal fatigue or something worse.
Exactly. So creating that, the harmony in your life in all aspects is not only healthy for you, but it's healthy for the children as you model that.
Exactly.
That's what I see is so vital. So, the pendulum seems to be swinging one way and then another with the ideas of what moms, some moms feel one way, some feel another, and however.
Well, it's all patterning and, mass consciousness and, like our society things and, there's so many other people playing in your playground there that it's hard to determine, well, what you truly need and what you truly want. And I think that's why going back and tuning in is so key, because your soul and your body are going to tell you exactly what you need in the greatest good of all, and that includes your kids.
Love it. Love it. And understanding who you be in the world makes such a difference in that. Also, another point that I see soul language as being such an assistance is in the, there's so much, like this child labeling, this child's ADD, this child is this.
Oh my God.
And
it drives me crazy.
Oh my gosh. And I just love the soul language path, because I watched a mom like totally have a different viewpoint of her child after we, because of labels, after we identified soul language of that child. What a difference. And I was highlighting the beauty of this soul, this person, and she felt a shift in how she viewed her child and his path and the things that she was seeing in his behavior. And it made such a difference.
And you bet that child will see it.
And
feel it.
Just feeling it because she feels it.
Yes, exactly.
So it's an energetic thing all the way around.
We're all energy.
Exactly. Love it. Love it. Jennifer, we have had a great discussion, and thank you so much for sharing all this. But before we go, I wanted to ask you one last question. Out of all that we've discussed today, I wondered if there's one point that you feel that we really want to bring out before we end this discussion today about soul language, about consciously connection, the whole concept of what we spoke today.
I think it's really important that people, moms also, majorly included in that, really carve out a time for themselves, to understand themselves, to gain awareness, to be connected, to read, to dance, to sing. And so often they don't do that. And it's a real detriment to for their life and for raising their kids.
Yeah. I love that, Jennifer. This was writing that down about fun and dancing and music, because, that's a way to energetically express and move and sometimes we can get so caught up in the doingness that we get exhausted by all that doing.
Yeah. This week my Tuesday, I went to the movies after work, but like at 4:00, but I went. I was like, I could do 60 million things, but I'm going to the movies. Bye.
There you go. End the story. Love it, Jennifer. I love that. I love also that, I've learned so much from you, and
thank you.
And through soul language, and you're also a master prayer writer, which you have written such beautiful things. And if our listeners will go and look on Amazon, you've got 2 beautiful books, one about soul language and one is a little book of prayers. So
thank you.
Those are 2 things that I hope that everyone here goes and checks out. Certainly been that for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, for being here. And I want to thank you, everyone who's listening today. And I just want to say one thing before I go, and to the mamas that are listening. You are loved. You are loved. You are needed. And being able to connect with yourself consciously, honing your skills, because you have all you need to be a wonderful mom to your children and a beautiful person to everyone here on the earth. So thank you for being here. And Laura Greco from the heart.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the Superpower quiz today.